and basically came to me and Brett Kirkman, my colleague at the time, and said, "What do you need? How can we help you do research?" And we were telling him about what we're interested in doing. And he said, "Well, it's of interest to us as well to understand. We have 1,000 expatriates at any given point in time in I don't know how many, like over 100 different countries or so. So we want to know how to help them adjust better. So we did is we actually did two studies. The first one was basically just almost cross-sectionally, basically get a survey of all their expatriates. We got about 50% of 1,000 that were working at the time who responded to our survey. And they were basically telling us information about the cross-cultural motivation, which is an aspect of cultural intelligence. And they were telling us how well adjusted they feel. But we also asked them we also got information from the firm about where they are relative to where they're coming. So we're able to get a sense of how culturally different their local subsidiary is, or the host subsidiary is from the local host country or home country, if you will. And we got a sense of how much support they get in their environment. And then we came 3 to 6 months later, and we actually got performance reviews from the company. And we're basically trying to see how being motivated to adjust cross-culturally may benefit you in terms of adjustment and performance differently, depending on two factors. One is how cross-culturally similar or different the subsidiary is from your home country. And the other one is how much support there is. So that was one study. We basically found that being motivated gets you so far. So it helped you overcome.
Okay, so this is a good one because I had a study, at least one study that I was able to do in Israel in the last 7 years on cultural intelligence. We did with we called the academic college in Wupin. And there we had basically international students. And we also looked at the cultural intelligence of minority and majority students. But I think the reason why I'm kind of highlighting this phenomena is because what we found there, consistent with your research as well, is that the motivational component of basically cultural intelligence, right, is not sufficient, right? So I can be really, really motivated, right now. Let's say my next business trip is going to go to, let's say right now I'm going to go to Abu Dhabi. I might be very motivated, right? I really want to study, understand the culture, but that's not sufficient for me to be able to strike a deal, right? Or to be able to work collaboratively with people who are working, collaborating, studying, whatever it is in, right, in the Emirates. So I'm kind of curious to understand, to kind of break it down to executive management. So why is it that their motivation is not sufficient? And if so, how does that basically connect to what they need to develop and how they can do that before they're about to travel?
So there's two reasons. One is that, and they're related to two reasons. So one is that when you're more motivated to engage with the host country, you interact more, and with just being motivated, you don't necessarily have the knowledge and skills to know and how to behave appropriately in that culture. And so when you're engaged with them, you may engage in a culturally inappropriate manner. Okay. So for example, going to China and just expect like a very warm kind of reception immediately, kind of like what we have in more Middle Eastern culture, may not get you very far. They may think that you're kind of nice, but it takes time to build relationship and trust and so forth. So that would be an example of a situation where, let's say, Israelis may commit cultural mistakes. You know what I mean? The other part is that the motivational basis is also what build that knowledge and skills, but it takes time. It takes time. And so the more different the cultural environment you need to adapt to, motivation helps you, but it requires also experience and time and skill development to engage more appropriately with with local staff, employees, adjust better cross-culturally in that place, etc.
So very helpful, but I have a scenario now. So right now, like a head of a startup gives me a call and says, listen, we're an Israeli high-tech company in education. We're about to enter the UK market, right? We need to strike a deal, right? We have no prior experience working with the UK. We've never been, working with them in the past. We never had a contract with them. We've seen a few, Little Britain, maybe TV shows, or, we know a little bit from our other colleagues, maybe about, working with the UK, but it's mostly maybe either cultural stereotypes or some kind of information we've gathered, I guess, from the surrounding environment. But the actual executives or managers and the employees who are going to go to let's say, to strike a deal or negotiate business negotiation with the British, their British clients, don't have any prior experience, right? So what would you suggest in this situation? They're very motivated, right? Yeah.
So the way cultural intelligence work is, or the way I think about it, which is sort of informed by the literature from Chris Early and others who've done, foundational work on it. The motivational, being willing to adapt, if you will, to other culture and learn about other culture is a very important basis. So then you need to think about two things in terms of the knowledge aspect, or the head, if you will, of cultural intelligence. One is, what do I need to know, right? So having basically what we call a metacognitive kind of structure, a framework to think about where are the gaps that I need to fill here. So I need to know about, do they work on Sunday or not, for example? Where do you go get growth? So the fact that there may be different living conditions, different holidays to celebrate, different currency, different time zone, different norms. So that give me a sense. And then you go deeper, and through Google, through training program, through reading about it, then you fill in the gaps. You actually learn what's different.
Yeah.
And then the final element is the skill base, which is the hardest to develop. Then you really need to, you need to again, so it's one thing to know that building trust, for example, in other countries differ. It's a different thing to actually do it, do it differently. And one thing that we do, for example, in our executive development, we have I teach in our executive MBA program, and so I actually work with managers to help them through simulations, basically put them in situations in a very safe and classroom environment, but then really ask them to act differently and see how it so that would be how you would develop them in terms of try to behave in a way that is not your go-to based on where you grew up, and then the really culturally intelligent managers are the one that already been to different, like serial expatriates, if you will. Just like we have serial entrepreneurs, we have serial expatriates living in a lot of different places, and they can just wear different hats and know what they need to do differently in different countries. Diplomats are expert at that. Diplomatic corps of countries are very good